Hello, livestock friends, and welcome to this edition of Before the Bid. This is a podcast dedicated to the livestock sales industry where we go behind the scenes of the operation and speak straight to the sellers. We discuss topics about the important aspects of their operation, location, the people behind the prep work, and talk about some of the animals that will be offered to you, the prospective buyers. Hopefully, you've got your sale catalog close by. You might have to go look through that pile on your desk. But if not, then you're probably like me and driving down the road or busy with chores around the farm. And that's okay too. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoy this segment of Before the Bid. I'm your host, Andy Howell. Welcome, livestock friends, to this edition of Before the Bid podcast. And I have contacted a guy tonight that we're going to talk to, that we're going on the pig side for this podcast. And we are talking to a guy that has been in the hog industry for 50 years. And he is from Northwood, Iowa. And he has a couple children that he's going to talk about, or young adults, I guess I should say, and he's got 5 of them. And something that I found very interesting is that 4 of them are teachers. So I enjoy that, enjoy hearing about that as I am a teacher myself. And also, he just finished up his crops. He's got all of his equipment in the barn, so I'm sure maybe some of you are going to be jealous about that. But a guy that really gets after it, and a guy that I have had so much fun getting ready for this podcast. And tonight, again, we're going to Northwood, Iowa, and we're going to talk to Ray Gaskill. And he's going to have a pig sale here on showpigs.com. And so excited to talk to him tonight, and we're going to talk about some things like frozen boar semen, something that I was very interested in hearing about, and we're going to talk about it when we go down through there. And so, again, want to welcome my guest, Ray Gaskill. And Ray, usually I start out with questions for people, but I think you might have a question for us.
Yeah, when I was contacted by Brandy, I was about doing this podcast. I was surprised from the standpoint that I'm not on social media. So how it was that you came up with my name or the prospect of even doing this podcast with me.
Right. Well, Ray, I'll tell you, you're out there more than maybe you know if you do a little bit of searching. And Brandy did some more searching, and that's how we found some of those pigs that you have been successful with here this last couple years. And so she does a very nice job of doing research and going through a few lists on a few different things. And so I'm glad I have her, and it worked out, and I'm so glad that we got in contact with you. And I think we're going to have a great conversation here, and I hope everybody enjoys it as much as I'm sure I will. She does a great job of doing some research and finding people. So we appreciate you being willing to come on here and do this, and I sure am excited about it.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Ray, as I always do, I like to start these podcasts off with some history of the operation. And as I mentioned in the opening, you have been in the hog business right at 50 years. And so I'm sure there's quite a bit of history for you to talk about here to introduce people that, as you say, you're not on social media. So maybe this might be a good way to tell other people about your operation.
Yeah. Well, we're close to 50 years. This all started my junior year of high school back in 1972. I, in the egg shop class, built a 6-pen hog house that I was going to use to, farrow some pigs in. So when that was completed that summer, I proceeded to go up to Bob Bryson at Alden, Minnesota to pick out a few hand gilts to start my FFA project with.
So like a lot of them, I'm going to guess this thing is a little FFA project gone rogue, right?
Yeah, probably. Now I'm a big, because you know that most 4-Hers and FFAers never really graduate, they just get older.
Right.
They live their dreams through their kids for the success that they weren't able to achieve.
Right. Know a lot of those.
So then back in early 80s, I decided to start raising purebred Durocs
Mm-hmm.
and selling breeding stock. And so I proceeded to go down to Bill Ranges in Marissa, Illinois, and went to Warren Carpenter's there in LaPorte, Indiana. Bought gilts and a boar from each of those, and we began our venture. As the breeding stock and things I felt improved, we began attending, type conferences, across the states there. And one of the things that, being young and all-knowing, we began to trail our path we felt in the purebred industry. And the interesting thing attending to these type conferences that I enjoyed was sitting down and on a bale of straw and just talking to a lot of the exhibitors and breeders that were there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't figure that I needed anything because I knew it all. As a young person starting out, you usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But I was fortunate enough to listen and to take a lot of that stuff in. Little did I realize that my blazing trail was going to kind of begin to not blaze anymore, and came to realize that I didn't know all that I thought that I knew. And so these words of wisdom that these older gentlemen shared with me began to play a major role in the process and me moving forward really in the hog industry. We took the Durocs and actually began to incorporate them in our cross breeding program to add more growth and muscle there in the mid 80s. As that continued into the mid 80s, we began to have really good success in the show ring.
Mm-hmm.
By the late 80s and early 90s, our crossbred hogs at the shows became the ones to beat up here, in our area.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, in the mid 90s, we began battling with pseudorabies like many other, producers, at least in this area, did. And so we actually dispersed of the herd and started all over in 97. We went to Carl Stein at Stein and Stewart's and bought a good number of gilts, from them to start all over again. It was these gilts that we took some of them and began using frozen semen back in mid 80s and 90s with genetics that we were familiar with from that time because we ourselves were breeding hogs. So by doing that, we knew what worked for us and how to proceed, and so we really, by the early 2000s, from 97 to early 2000s, we had developed again a quality, competitive Duroc herd again. And we took some of those Durocs and began to cross them with Chester Whites.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took that cross, that F1 cross, and crossed them with Hamps. And that's how we got the blue background
Mm-hmm.
in our crossbred program.
Mm-hmm.
Our current herd really goes back to just a couple Duroc Chester White Hamp cross outs, which then we began to cross up with exotic boars or
Mm-hmm.
crossbred boars.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing that was beginning to happen back then. It was the popular thing, but I grew up believing that purebreds would give more uniformity and consistency to the litters. So live breeding was something that we practiced, often.
Mm-hmm.
I had learned from, the older gentlemen, as I said, sitting on them straw bales, that it was a way to find out how good your genetics were that you were using.
Mm-hmm.
If you, by line breeding, if you got junk, you probably should take a look at what you're doing and go a different direction.
Right.
But if you got something that was really good, then you knew that you would probably get consistency and predictability in the offspring. So it was a challenging for me to begin using crossbred boars because that meant that I could potentially lose the predictability and the consistency, in the litters that we were having or the offspring.
Mm-hmm.
But we moved forward with that, and I think because we were using crossbred boars on F2 gilts, which, are three, and F2 is three breeds of a purebred, we were able to maneuver through that selection process through that period fairly quickly. For us, we had found that bringing outside genetics in and putting them on our lined up crossbred females, that we were able to introduce new genetics without giving up quality, consistency, and predictability in our herd.
Right.
We still practice line breeding even with the crossbreds today. We want to know what we're working with, good or bad.
Right.
And by doing that, this allows our customers that buy gilts or even semen from us, we're able to help them know how to mate them. We've had, many come in and look at our hogs over the years, and the one first comment they make is, they all look pretty much the same.
Right.
So the consistency, even when we introduce new genetics, is our goal. Having 7 to 9 sellable pigs to us is better than gambling on that one home run pig in a litter with nothing else left good enough to sell.
Right. Right. I enjoy that thought and that philosophy. Yeah. If only and back to something that you said there. If only we could get some of these young people to sit on a straw bale and listen to those guys and understand that, you know what, they've been here, they've done it. They probably know what they're talking about, right?
Well, it's when you're young and just getting started, it's not so easy because, like I said, we figure that we have this plan, we have a direction that we're going to go, we think that we know what we're doing, and if you allow yourself, when you get partway down and things aren't going the way that you think that they should be, it's allowing yourself to step back and be willing to take in some of those things that you heard and try them. It may be a risk, but at the same time, it may pay off and pay out dividends. And that is exactly what, happened for us. I mean, it's those things that we learned and that we tried that really has allowed us to develop, some of the philosophies and values or convictions that we have.
Yeah, we'll get to those. Continue. Continue on with a little bit of that history. I didn't mean to interrupt you and throw you off there.
No. You talked earlier about, having 5 kids. I got 10 grandchildren, but unfortunately, none of them are interested in showing hogs, at least at this point in time. So because of that, I guess I live that part out by helping other kids and their families to achieve success in life and in the show ring. But there's one thing that during that period of time, when our kids were growing up, they showed hogs, cattle, and sheep. But in the hog side of it, one of the things that I did that I thought was right was, being we were in the business of selling show pigs, we sold the best ones, and our kids got to show the leftovers. That went well to start with, but then people got to the point of, when they bought hogs, they expected to win, and if they didn't, it was our fault. Little did they remember or forget or whatever that there's this period of time from 50 pounds when they get them to the show that's their responsibility.
Right.
So when it came time for the fair or the show or whatever, and we would come in and would maybe do better than they did, we would get accused of hiding the better pigs and not really selling the better ones, when actually all it was just management or taking care of or getting prepared for the show. So it just, when I say I would do something different, I would have allowed my kids to have shown the best, because even when I thought that I was doing something to help other kids and families, my kids paid a price. In some respects, I paid a price, because even though that I was trying to help them when they didn't have the success, when it wasn't my fault and actually more back on them, I got blamed for it. So I figured if I was going to get blamed for it, my kids just as well have been able to have, have shown the best. But
right.
Anyway, that's hindsight. it's just, even somebody I guess, that is out there and has kids or maybe in the business, I guess I would say don't be afraid to allow your kids to show the best. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in some respects, you're building them, you bred them. Your kids should have the opportunity to show them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
So as a result of that, and enjoying to work with kids and families and stuff, um, being I had been in the past, for 17 years, I was a swine superintendent at our county fair. We're all aware of what took place, excuse me, in 2020 here with COVID-19, that most of the fairs got canceled and most of the shows got canceled. So these kids that had bought, livestock or hogs, never got the opportunity to show them.
Right.
In our area, our show or fair is in June. So when the lockdown, so to speak, took place, they'd already had their hogs and, we're working with them. So when our fair was canceled and the kids were told that they weren't going to be able to show their hogs, there was something that welled up inside of me that said, we're going to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
But little did I realize the resistance that I was going to get for making this happen.
Mm-hmm.
There was just one roadblock after another, one hurdle after another that had to be crossed. But we were able to find a place or private property that would allow us to have it on their farm. Jake and Jackie Keppen went through a lot to allow us to have this show for the kids from our county out at their place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge success. I think with everything that was going on, it was just a relief. People were able to get out a little bit. Yes, we followed the protocols that, were in place at that time, but the people were able to get out and do something. And this thing would have never taken place also without all the help of, the volunteers. And we had a tremendous response from sponsors. I mean, we put this thing together in about 2.5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we were able to come up with sponsorship that was just really unbelievable. We had all the food was donated for before the show and after the show, and we'd raised enough money that each kid, we gave them a like a little shopping bag or whatever of stuff that had been, donated or contributed by people and from the Iowa pork producers, and we were able to raise enough money that each kid got $240.
Oh, wow.
And there was all but 2 in the county chose to participate at the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just fun to see the excitement and the smiles on the face and the parents. And so it was just probably with a lot of things that I have done, that was probably one of the most rewarding, seeing kids' faces. And I mean, the seniors, I'm not telling anything that a lot of kids out there didn't experience, not only from livestock, but the seniors in the athletic or any musician or anything that didn't get to experience what they wanted to. A lot of them, their graduations,
Right.
So it was a very rewarding experience that we were able to be a part of.
Right. Well, I think that's great. And yeah, I know the shows around here at that time, anybody that got to have a show, man, they just came in droves and they really just they had that smile on their face like, oh my gosh, we get to do this, and seemed very happy to get to do that. So I'm sure that yours, as you mentioned, did the same thing, and I'm sure that had to feel good to be a part of that. So you talked a little bit ago there in your history, and you sold the whole set, the whole herd, and then you got back in '97. And what kind of philosophies did you have, or did you continue on? What kind of values do you have now in that breeding program?
Philosophies, and these have been developed, over time, because like I said in the beginning, you get your philosophies or convictions or values are one thing, and as you progress through life, you end up and you deal with people, and you want to be successful and to move forward, they most likely, changed. And so the personal philosophies or values that we developed was, first of all, was honesty and integrity. If a litter is farrowed January 28th, they didn't farrow February 1st. They farrowed January 28th. And sometimes being honest, I mean, we've lost business because we weren't willing to fudge, farrowing dates. But it's just something that we believe in. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, follow through with it. We've learned to treat people fairly. I guess some have called that, the golden rule. One of the things that we've also developed is customer service has been one of the biggest things to bring back repeat customers and for increase of our business, by word of mouth. Because we're not in social media, you could look at it that it would be challenging or wondering how you're going to develop new business. Word of mouth advertisement is really the best advertisement that you can get. And it's been those two things that has allowed us to survive and stay in this business almost 50 years. We also believe that building relationships is more important than the dollar. We've learned to listen to people. We try to build bridges, and by building those bridges, that in turn begins to build a network. We don't have all the answers, but we may know of somebody that can answer, the question that you have. We've learned that we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we're willing to own up to them and apologize because, that sometimes it happens.
Right.
Probably the biggest thing that we have learned over the years is that when we surrendered our pride and prejudices towards another breeder or a particular product, it was then that we began to make the biggest strides moving forward. We found out that, if some place had particular genetics that we felt was going to work or a piece that we needed at a particular time, we went there. And since we've been doing that, it's really has begun to move our, program forward. Because we believe in building hogs, you build by pieces. You match up strengths and weaknesses. So you go out, at least we do, we go out and look for those pieces that we, need at that particular time. We've taken those philosophies then and moved that into, the livestock area. And the first and most important one to us is structure. They have to be built right or nothing else really matters. We like our hogs to be level to tall fronted. We like square made hogs. We like hogs that are true from shoulder to ground, from hip to hock to ground. We want all 4 feet pointing straight forward. Period of time in the Hampshire breed that, that coon-footedness, was a big thing. But we like hogs that are flexible in their spine. By that I mean when they pick their head up, we like for their spine to flex, because if that spine doesn't flex when they lift that head up, they have more of a tendency of wanting to buckle at the knee, and that front foot wants to come off the ground. Whereas if the spine flexed, they can leave that foot, flat on the ground. We like hogs that are loose and flexible in their joints. This allows them to take longer strides, front and rear. One of the things we learned sitting on them strong bales from the older breeders, that when you're walking through the sand or through the dirt, the closer that front foot print and that back foot print, the closer they are together, the better it is. I mean, we've watched hogs that back in the 80s and stuff that we had it, that there would only be about 4 inches between those prints. We've seen hogs currently, there could be as much as 12, 14 inches between those, footprints. So that's something that we try to look at and pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
We like our hogs to be deep in their rib, but not only deep, but have curvature in that center part of the rib. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the selection process, why
Mm-hmm.
that we feel is important.
Mm-hmm.
The heaviness of bone is something also that we really like, but we don't like coarse grizzly bone. We like more of the youthful type bone. Another thing that we learned from the old-time breeders sitting on them straw bales was a good indication of boars that are heavy bone for them to generate that bone is the size of the base of their tail head. If they've got a smaller tail head, they're heavy boned, and a smaller tail head with a smaller tail, thicker, not quite as thick, not as thick a tail, the chances of them generating bone is not as good as a boar that is heavy boned that has a large tail head and a large tail. And I know that some of these things sound, oh, you got to be goofy.
Uh-huh.
What difference does a tail make? Well, I said the same thing. All I can tell you is that it's true. Whether you want to believe it or not, I'm not going to discount anybody for not believing it because I didn't myself. But we tried it and we follow. It seems to work or follow through or carry through, in our breeding program.
Mm-hmm.
We like hogs that are square-chested, square in their blades. By that I mean that when they drop their head, the spine drops between the shoulder blades that come up.
Mm-hmm.
We want our front legs with good curvature that are not straight. If that shoulder doesn't have an angulation forward with that foot and is more straight, they're going to have a tendency of also wanting to buckle and not stay, sound. Same thing works on the rear end. We like sets to that rear hock.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they get too straight hocked, they're going to have a tendency of, being more up in their toes, and you start getting straight-legged, and the more straight-legged you get, the more posty-legged, the shorter your stride's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer them to be up on their pasterns, but I would rather have a soft-footed hog than I would that's straight in the shoulder that wants to buckle at their knee.
Mm-hmm.
So the pastern thing is, yes, I like them up where the dew claws are off the ground, but that is getting more and more of a challenge for that to happen. But it still doesn't mean that it's not something that we strive to make happen.
Mm-hmm. Right. Your selection process to find these pigs must be a lot different than what some others might think or might do. What do you do with the selection process? How do you go about that?
Well, it's probably a little bit more detailed than a lot. And again, through the years, understanding from these gentlemen that, genetics don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the time to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the different lines or genetics that they're using, they'll tell you. But the first thing, especially when we're selecting either boars or females, the first thing in a boars, I should say, is for us, it's their mother.
Mm-hmm.
The mother actually carries over 60% of the generating power for that boar.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, talking to different studs or different people and asking about a boar, and I go, well, what about their mom? How good's their mother? I don't know. We've never been asked that question before.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really important. When you understand that the mother carries over 60% of the value of how that boar is going to generate,
Mm-hmm.
it makes a difference to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we want to provide consistent hogs and predictable hogs, we like to know.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, it's going back to all those structure things that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I just recently mentioned that genetics don't lie. So pay attention to it. Understand the strengths and weaknesses. Also within that, the genetics, it's what I call genetic junk.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean, are they producing ruptures and prolapses and one nutters?
Mm-hmm.
Our vet recommends not to keep a boar or gilt out of a litter that has more than one pig of any of those things that I just mentioned. Because in doing so, it increases your probability of that happening. Now, I'm not saying that if you buy a gilt from us or get semen from us that you're not going to get those things, because those are recessive, and if it's on the genetic side that you are using, it could pop up. But those are things that we pay a great deal of attention to ourselves. That's important for us. So if we do get a litter that has 231 nutters, then we don't keep anything out of it. If we get, ruptures or something, we don't keep anything out of it. But then we move on to teat count and quality. And you wouldn't think that that's a big deal on boars, but for us, our process is in a litter, you're going to generate both males and females. So it becomes important for us to watch that quality even in the count, even on the boars. And also in the boars, the testicle size makes a difference. Larger testicles should give you larger quantities of semen. Doesn't always happen, but it's one of the things that we look for.
Right.
I like to have our boars with, stouter skulls and heavier bone work. That way, and again, we just talked about what we also look for in other things, with that bone work. So, and the gilt side of it, structure is the first thing that we look for.
Right.
Because as I said at the very beginning, if they don't have a structure, all the rest of the stuff is immaterial. Here we want that barrel ribbed, and the reason I say that is because that's really important for those females as far as getting up and down in the crate. If you have the flatter ribbed gilts and sows, they're going to have more of a tendency of developing abscesses or scabs on their shoulders because you don't have that rib to help them, to roll up. I like our females to have what I call a big, softer middle, which is deep-bodied and deep in the rear flank, but maybe not as hard in the rib, not as lean in that rib, carrying a little extra flesh, and that flesh is important. When they begin sucking the litter, they've got to have a fat source to be able to draw from.
Right.
Because if they do, they're just going to get sucked down that much quicker, and it decreases longevity. Vulva size to us really matters. The bigger, the better. We want our breeding gilts not to look like market gilts. Our breeding gilts shouldn't be pinched at the hand-loin junction, and the teat quality, number, and spacing is also really important. Our selection process, even in the females, if they don't raise 7 pigs, they don't stay here. We also, over the years, have emphasized on building high-quality females. That's one of the things that probably in the show thing that we are most noted for is our females. We have a greater success with our females in the show ring, because of the selection process that we've used. And the other thing is that you can make high-quality show pigs by the boar selection that you use.
Right.
Carcass characteristics are the most highly inheritable characteristics, so you can make the fastest changes in your herd by the selection of the boars that you use. The reproduction and production characteristics are the least inheritable. So if you have a non-productive herd, both growth and female-wise, it's going to take you longer to make changes in that than you are in carcass characteristics. So that's why we've focused our herd, on the female side of it.
You are speaking my language.
Again, match up your matings. Match up strengths and weaknesses. We have seen that it has been more beneficial for us to actually go out and look at the boars. You may have to drive 8-10 hours. But I can tell you from personal practical experience that most of those boars may not look like the picture that they are in the catalog. So Another thing that's really important because of the process that we've used on our females, it's the longevity. That's what's helped us to, survive all these years. We've got a sow that's going to farrow here in December that farrowed February 6th, 2013. She will be coming with her 14th litter in here in December.
Wow, that's great.
We got a Duroc sow that is coming with her 12th litter. Some people will say, well, how do you can't make genetic improvement that way if you're going to keep something around that long. Look at all the different boars that you get to use over that period of time. When we talk about longevity, we've got a boar here, all blue sky, that'll be 6 in February. This day and age, boars living to be 6 years old and giving you viable semen, you can probably name them on one hand.
Right.
Visionary's one, Sugar Daddy's one. Our theme, for our program is always trying to refine the next generation. That's why if you see our logo sometime, you got our name on top of fiery flames, because it's a constant process, always refining. There's always something that at least we feel, there's always something that you can improve on. And it's going out and finding that piece to do that.
And one of the ways that it sounds like you've done that, and one of the ways that you've kept true to what you've done, and I've got to be real honest, I was dumbfounded a little when you talked about it the other night. You've used frozen semen in your breeding program.
Yeah. As I said, when we had to restart there in '97, it allowed us to tap into the genetics that we understood, the Duroc lines that we had been using, and also some Duroc lines that we had wanted to try. It gave us the opportunity to do that, and it really enabled us to move forward fairly quickly with, our herd again. We produced a boar called Bold Adventure that was very popular in the Duroc breed, that many breeders used across the United States, and he was premier sire at a number of shows. Now, we don't have the boars out there like a lot of breeders did, but for us, we were pleased to be able to have one in a stud that did as well as he did. So yeah, we've using frozen semen. We believe in frozen semen and understand now that some of these studs are beginning to freeze their crossbred boars and are selling it. So there's just some things that I would like to share that we have learned through the years and by doing this that are really kind of important if you are considering using frozen semen. Frozen semen is quite a bit different using frozen semen than fresh semen. First of all, the shelf life of frozen semen is only about 6 hours. So one of the most important things in using frozen semen is your management or your heat detection. You really need to be heat checking every 12 hours, night and morning, so that you can get that semen in at the right time. Most the gilts are going to ovulate at about 30 hours after standing heat. The sow is going to ovulate about 32 hours. So if you heat check once a day, you could be off by 12, 14 hours. So your service is not going to be at the right time because, again, the longevity of the semen, viability of the semen isn't as long as fresh semen. Because fresh semen today can last 12 to 15 hours, the sow with the extenders that they've got. Another thing that's really important is know how long your tank will stay charged, which means how long the nitrogen will last in there. If your tank lasts 3 months and you go 4 months and open the lid up and lift up a canister and you go, well, how come it's not cold? Well, your semen's all dead and you just lost whatever money that you had in that semen. So know how long, when you get your tank, know how long it'll stay charged and get it charged.
Right.
You know, if you've got a 6-month tank or 9-month tank, you need to either get on a route, find a cattle breeder maybe in the area that, I mean, you can probably help them with that.
Mm-hmm.
Get set up on a route for getting their tank charged at a regular time or basis.
Right. Right.
When you are wanting to breed and you open up your tank and you pull your canister up, do not take your canister out of the tank to get your straw because the temperature drop, it's the freezing and warming up of the semen. If you do that all the time, will reduce your viability of your semen. So keep your canister right at the crown of your tank, the opening of the tank, and reach down and either with the tweezers or something to pull the straw out. I've learned that it's better to do that on your fingertips than using your fingertips.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Another thing that's really important is the thawing process. Whatever company that you're using or you're getting semen from, get their thawing process and follow that precisely because it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more thing that's really important that a lot of them, at least it was and has been to this point in time that we have been told, and that's find out what extender that wherever you're getting your frozen semen from is using, that those boars were frozen in, what the extender was, so that you can have the same extender thawed that you are going to put that frozen semen in once it's thawed into. If you use 2 different kinds of extender, I have been told that there's a very good chance that you could kill that semen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the first things that we were told at the very beginning, is make sure that the extender that you're going to thaw out is the same extender as what was used when they froze the boar.
Mm-hmm.
If these processes are followed, using frozen semen can be very successful and a good tool for your, program.
Mm-hmm.
We recently used frozen semen this fall with some Durocs. We had frozen a couple of our own boars, and we bred 8 of our Durocs to frozen semen and settled 7 of them.
Wow.
So we were very pleased with that result. That's better than fresh semen.
Right. Yes. And had that success by following those protocols and heat checking and taking a lot of time, I'm sure.
Yeah, again, it's following the procedures, Our particular process is your hot water bath needs to be at 50 degrees centigrade. Your extender needs to be at 20 degrees centigrade. You take the straw out and immediately put it in your hot water bath. It's got to be in there for 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And you pull it out and clip the end off and stick it in.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to get it in the sow within a half hour. Because
Mm-hmm.
the longer that it sits in the bottle
Mm-hmm.
gives you that much less time for, them little swimmers to get up to where it needs to be.
Right. Well, that's very interesting and very interesting to me. Again, I've been involved with the pigs a bit, but not a lot of the breeding, and I think that frozen semen, I think that's a great thing, and I was really excited to hear about it and excited to hear that you were already doing it and using it. So I think that's great. Yeah, one of those next generation things, you think?
Correct. I mean, it not only next generation, but previous generations.
Right.
And yes, I mean, it hasn't been in the hog industry as long as it has been in the cattle industry.
Mm-hmm.
Our straws are quite a bit bigger
Mm-hmm.
than what they are in the cattle, but I understand that there's a new freezing process and the straws are smaller now for swine than what they used to be. Our straws that we have used and are currently using are about 1 foot long and probably 1/4 inch thick.
Mm-hmm.
So
We've even got some semen lots in this sale that we're getting ready to talk about here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Ray, are you ready to go into to this sale that you've got going on?
Sure.
Okay. If you would give us, it's on showpig.com. If you would give us some dates and things like that, and then we'll kind of get into some of those lots.
It's scheduled for Monday, November 23rd. I guess it's supposed to start at 4 o'clock. I think it's Eastern time. And she'll be on the way.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, sure. Getting things finished up and wrapped up and ready for that, and always an exciting time to get ready for those.
Yeah, well, more of a challenging time than an exciting time because we've had our sows are out on dirt, and we've had over an inch of rain the last couple of days, and now it's snowing, and it's going to be 16 degrees in the morning, and we don't have all the pictures taken yet. So, and it's supposed to rain on Saturday.
Oh boy!
They would like to have our sale page set up by Monday, so I've got some work to do.
Right. That'll make it interesting. So
it'll make it something.
Right. And learning a little about this sale now. Not everybody does this that you're getting ready to do here for this sale on November 23rd. Not everybody offers their foundation female. No matter, it doesn't matter what it is, but you're going to offer one of your very best foundation females, is my understanding.
Well, yeah, it was a wrestling match with myself, I guess to say, to make that decision. You know, not only do most not offer their foundation sow, they don't offer their foundation sow in her prime. She's coming with her fifth litter. So it was difficult, but I guess we feel that there's two reasons. We want to offer our genetics to the public, and not just, we want to offer the best. And in doing so, in some respects, it puts pressure on us. If we want to maintain our herd, then we've got to have something to follow her up with. But with the job that she has done in just 4 parities, the daughters that we have laid in, we got a son of her, boar we call Special K, that's King of the Hill son. And then we've got a grandson of her that we call Beast Mode. And we now have another grandson in the pipeline out of 7 Up. Beast Mode is an Anchorman son. We feel that we can maintain her worth, you know, in the herd, and therefore offer her, give somebody else out there the opportunity to benefit from what we have done already from her in such a short period of time, that we're willing to offer her and see if the public has interest.
And this is the lot 1 female that we're talking about. And if you would give us a little pedigree, maybe somebody might not be very familiar with her. So if you would give us some pedigree info and give us some more info on her.
Yeah, she as I said, she's coming with her 5th parity. She's a sugar daddy, and a lot of those in the industry are well aware of sugar daddy and how great the mothers are out of him. On the bottom side, she's a Blue Fortune. Blue Fortune is a boar that we raised that was blue, but he was out of Fortune on a Killer Instinct sow. And so that's what she is out of. She is bred to, as I said earlier, to her grandson, Beast Mode, which is an Anchorman X-ray vision back on top of her. She's bred, she was bred September 18th and 19th. And my gut tells me that this is going to be one of her best litters. And that was another reason that it was difficult to decide, to put her up. And the reason that I say that is because we have learned how to mate her.
Mm-hmm.
And beast mode is very thick and massive, heavy boned, and really square in his top with good, turn to his loin edge. And it's that she has generated, like I said, a lot of females for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we used a Wintex boar on her for a spring litter, and had there was a barrow that was named champion at their county, and then was named champion overall market hog, and therefore won the right, or earned the right, to go to the all district or all Iowa district showdown,
Mm-hmm.
which in the state of Iowa has become a very big thing, is to earn the right to go to the showdown.
Mm-hmm.
The Meitner Show Pigs was the family that bought that barrel, and Ray Lynn was the young gal that showed, him. And so, one of the other couple other things that I want to mention, about her is makes it her a foundation. That's a lot of the sugar daddies. She's a tremendous milking sow.
Mm-hmm.
Her pigs are usually the biggest, at weaning in her group. And trust me, you don't have to be in the farrowing house to know when she is nursing her pigs, because she is loud. And she's passed that on to her daughters, the ones that we have farrowed already.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because the X-ray vision sugar daddy daughter that is farrowed, has given us beast mode in her first litter, and she's actually the mother of the other boar that we got in the pipeline, the 7-Up son, which is another one of the boars that we have, which is a visionary Bear 274 on target.
Mm-hmm.
She is massive in her body. She is wide-chested, excellent on her feet and legs, with good bone. She's moderate in her frame, which frame size is, for some, I would say that she's the right frame size for a lot of those that are in the show pig industry.
Mm-hmm.
She's not only good physically, but she's good genetically, I guess,
Right.
is another way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys gonna want to make sure you check her out. I've got a picture of her here, and boy, she is a nice female, high quality female, and I'm sure, like you said, it took a lot to put her in this sale.
Well, the other thing for us, anyway, one of the other things that contributed to make it so difficult is, for us, not every female will give you competitive males and competitive females,
Right.
or males that will generate and females that will generate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Special K, the King of the Hill son that we got, which is a son of hers, has proven himself because he's had champions in just his first year. And so she proved to, generate a male that generates.
Mm-hmm.
And then the daughter of her, the X-ray vision sugar daddy, generated another male. So both the males and females out of her have already generated. And for us, that's not very easy to put together. Usually they'll generate females,
Right.
or they'll generate males.
Right. High quality sow, and wish you luck on getting her sold, and the new person, the new purchaser of her should be ready to roll with her.
Right.
Yeah. The lot 2, you've got a special deal here, as you're going to sell a choice between 2 of them.
These are actually 2 of her daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also litter mates to Special K. So we're giving the buyer the choice of whichever one of these 2 that he would like. The other one will stay here in our herd, which is really the thing with all of these lots. If there is something that doesn't sell,
Mm-hmm.
We keep it and farrow it.
Mm-hmm.
Lot 2A, 21 Deer Notch 2110, is probably a little bit more moderate in her frame size. She's really deep bodied, heavy boned, Really good on her feet and legs. She is bred to Rocket Man. She was bred on 817. Rocket Man is a hush money all blue sky boar that we have raised that is extremely good in his hip and hind leg, the mobility and length of stride that he takes. Good down his top. The reason he got the name Rocket Man is because ever since he was a little pig, he was more chisel fronted. I mean, he's extended in his front end and he walks uphill.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that him on her will generate some pigs that will have good bone, good body, and should be good in their mobility. Lot 2B, the other litter mate, 2114, is a little bit bigger framed. I think that 2110 probably took the frame size of mom. Lot 2B probably took more of the frame size of dad.
Mm-hmm.
But 2114, both of these sows are calicos. 2114 might be a tick heavier bone. Again, she's a little bigger framed. She's square in her blades, square down her top, really good also on her feet and legs. And she proved to be a really good mom. I mean, 2110 raised 8 pigs, which we're very happy with, but 2114 raised 11 pigs in her first litter.
Oh, wow.
She is bred to beast mode, so she combines that sugar daddy sow on both sides. Those pigs will have that sugar daddy sow on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So this is some of that line breeding that we talked about earlier in our history.
Mm-hmm.
So again, both of those will be offered up on buyer's choice in lot 2.
Right, and 2 high-quality boars, and again, I got a picture of Beast Mode here, and boy, Beast Mode, what a good name for him.
Yeah. He is thick and massive and heavy boned.
Yeah.
His rear legs are actually bigger than his front legs.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that have seen him in person say that the pictures do not do him justice. He's just really stout. He looks a lot like his daddy. For anybody that has seen Anchorman in person, this guy looks a lot like him, only a bit longer legged than his dad, and but just massive hog with a lot of muscle and thickness and really good rib shape.
He's a good one. What other lots you want to talk about? You want to keep going down through some of these, or?
Yeah, let's go down. We've only got 11, 12 lots, so
Sure.
if you don't mind, we'll just go down through the sale.
Sure, go right ahead.
Lot 3 is 44-5. She was born on 8/1/19. She is out of our 7-Up boar. As I said earlier, 7-Up is a visionary Bear 274 on target. He was bred by Harkin Livestock here in Iowa out of the 59-4 Sugar Daddy sow. She is a belted hog that is square made, really good in her rib and body, good down with her muscle, good on her feet and legs. And she is was bred on 920 to All Blue Sky. All Blue Sky is a boar that we raised, which is a son of Skyrocket on an All-Pro sow. And All-Pro was a son of All-Star, which was at Canes. The interesting thing, too, is that All Blue Sky will be 6 years old here in February, and he is still producing competitive hogs and champions. For example, there was an All Blue Sky daughter that was shown by the Bowen family in Missouri this last summer that usually won her class and stood 3rd overall behind a gilt from Heimers and one from Sloan's. In fact, at one of the shows, we were told that Jake Laird of Premium Blend Genetics was a judge, and he had his reasons. He called her one of the best hip and hind legged gilts that he had seen in a couple of years. That gilt that the Bowen family showed was bred by Meitner family, and but it And she was blue. All Blue Sky is blue. And this gilt was blue. And blue and calicos are popular, with a lot of kids.
Right.
So that's another thing that you potentially could get blues with this litter also.
I've got a picture of her as well, and she's really good.
This litter will combine Visionary, Sugar Daddy, and Sky's the Limit, which are 3 Hall of Fame boars.
Wow. Yeah, so a lot of high quality genetics in that one.
Lot number 4, 50-13, was farrowed at 831.18. She's a Hold My Beer 133 back on 5'9" Killer Instinct. She was bred on 8/30/20 to Special K. This is a repeat mating. We farrowed her this summer. She weaned 11 pigs. We have retained 3 gilts out of her on Special K the first time. She's the daughter of the great 5'9" Killer Instinct sow here, which is probably the other foundational sow. I told you earlier that we had a sow that was coming with her 14th parity. That's this sow.
Oh, wow. Longevity built in.
With the Hold My Beer 133 Wintex genetics, they have given our pigs a little bit more crispness to the loin edge. So it's really worked well with the extra ribbon body that, on the female side. And there's them. The daughters that we kept out of her are really big ribs, soft in the middle, square top, really good on their feet and legs, heavy boned. This sow is great in her design. She's square topped. She's square in her chest, and she's good in her rib and body, and good on her feet and legs.
Bred to the Calico Special K.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another high quality boar.
You should get belted pigs because she's a belt, and you should get some calicos because that's what her first litter gave.
That's neat. Yeah, mix it up a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Lot 5 and 6, we go Duroc style here.
Yep. 29-4, farrowed 216/19. She's at Focus on 27-9 Prince Louie. Focus is at Shipley's. Prince Louie was at Canes. She's bred was bred on 9/23/24 to 14-6 Red Warrior. Red Warrior is a Duroc boar that we have raised that is out of Bachelor on top of a Clydesdale sow. This sow was actually a litter mate to the champion purebred that went on to be named the grand champion overall breeding gilt at the 2019 Mower County Fair. She went on then and was reserve champion Class 2 purebred Duroc at the 2019 Minnesota State Fair. 29-4, this sow is great in her design, level in her top, heavy boned, good set to her rear leg, square in her chest, and is good rib shape. Bred to Red Warrior, he should add bone and more ribbon body yet to her because Red Warrior is monster bone with tremendously big rib cavity in him. Really good on his feet and legs. Lot 7, 10-10, was born on 8/18. She is a Daddy's Home on 6/13 Blue Fortune. Daddy's Home is at Nathan Ray's, or was at Nathan Ray's. This sow was actually bred by Meitner Show Pigs. She was bred on 8/19/20 to Beast Mode. Interesting thing is, in her first litter, she was the mother of the reserve champion Market Barrow at the 2020 Worth County Youth Open.
Wow.
She is also a litter mate to the mother of that blue gilt that I just told you about that Bone showed in Missouri. Out of All Blue Sky.
Wow. Stacked on top of stacked in this thing.
Yeah.
How do you let these go?
Well, like I said, when you're not on social media, the best way to do it is word of mouth, and
Right.
success is, that part of the reason that we're having another sale is because the sale that we had last year, not only was successful financially, but it was successful for our customers.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason to, we feel to continue with it.
Mm-hmm.
If our customers can have success, then I look at the word successful also.
Right. Excellent. Excellent thought and philosophy.
Lot 8 is 27-12. This is a blue sow coming with her second litter. She's a king of the hill back on 615 Blue Fortune. She was bred 819 to Instant Regret at Wintex.
Mm-hmm.
Instant Regret is a Anchorman son that Will, kept down there.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother, this 615 Blue Fortune, was also the mother of a very popular blue gilt that Mitch Harkin showed a couple of years ago in the Iowa Jackpot Circuit, that stood third overall in the light cross division at the end, in points. So,
wow.
And bred to Instant Regret, these pigs should have tons of bone and be thick. And this blue sow has just got lots of bone, rib, body, level in her design, really good in her feet and legs, and athletic, good extension through her front end. So I think that this could be an awful good set of pigs in this lot.
Right.
Lot 9 is 41-10. She was born on 7/28/19. She is a 7-up, back on top of 1711 All Blue Sky. She was bred on 10/8 to Beast Mode.
Oh, wow.
1711 would have been a double bred 5/9, or she would have had 5/9 on both sides of her pedigree, because All Blue Sky is a grandson of 5/9 and 7. So, and then on the bottom side of 1711, she was an All Blue Sky 5/9. So 5/9 is on both sides of that. Bred to Beast Mode, I'd look for bone and mass and muscle in this litter and longevity, because you got, on the female side of this pedigree, you got Visionary, Killer Instinct, and Sugar Daddy. That's some pretty good boars to have in your pedigree. This gilt 4110 is a blue butt, very square in her blades, good in her design, deep in her body and rib. She's got good shape to her center part of her rib, and again, really good on her feet and legs, and has good mobility to her. Lot 10, 36-10, was born on 7/16/18. She's a Promised Land 612 Blue Fortune, bred on 10/8 and 9. She's also bred to Beast Mode, and 612 went to Joe Crawford's in Michigan, and he is just extremely pleased, with her as far as production. Promised Land has worked really well for us in our herd. It's a Visionary son that has added actually some more look and gives us good muscle shape. Some of the Visionaries can give you some muscle, but not a lot of turn to the loin edge. Promised Land has done that for us. And again, you got the 5/9 Killer Instinct sow on the bottom side, and now you're combining the good Sugar Daddy sow with the good 5/9. So you're combining two of our foundational sows in the offspring of this litter.
Wow.
Lot 11. This is an interesting lot. It's 33-9. She is the oldest sow that we've got on the sale. She's an all-star 5/5 Killer Instinct. She was bred on 8/30/20 to Rocket Man. For those that followed our sale last year, you may have recognized this sow. She was offered on the sale last year but didn't sell, which was good for us, because her litter out of 7-up gave the Champion Crossbred Gilt, which later on was named the Champion Overall Breeding Gilt, which then was selected to go to the All Iowa District Showdown just this summer. So it worked well for us that she didn't sell on the
Isn't
sale.
isn't it funny how things
So,
work out like that?
excuse me?
I said, isn't it funny how things work out like that?
That's right. So we thought we would offer her again, and we feel that bred to Rocket Man, that her pigs should be heavier boned and a little thicker and more squareness at top than what they were even out of 7-Up. And that 7-Up gilt was really deep bodied and really good on her feet and legs, and just very good design. The All-Star sow is belted. She's deep in her body, level in her top, really thick out through her top and out through her rear end, and again, really good on her feet and legs.
Breeder the nice rocket band, and away you go again.
So that's the females that we're offering on the sale.
You've got a couple other special lots. You're actually gonna sell some semen.
Yeah, we're gonna. The project manager recommended that we offer some semen lots. So we're going to offer some semen lots on this sale to some of the boars that we've got. And we're also going to offer prospect purchase certificates, which means that there'll be some $500 certificates auctioned off to put towards or to buy prospects next spring, if anybody has interest in that.
Do you already have that spring? How do you do your spring pigs?
I would say that 99% of our hogs are sold off the farm. We don't haven't the last couple of years gone to any sales, and we don't do online sales in the spring. Again, we've been able to increase our business, and we can sell them off the farm. So we are continuing to do that. The word of mouth and has been successful for us, and we feel that even with these bred sows that we offer, as the more that people get out, and I think through this podcast, when people understand and hear more about us, that that in itself, even though that we aren't on social media, we're on social media.
Right.
So we're grateful to you guys in this podcast, because my understanding is that it's on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and
right. Yep, and on Podbean. So yeah, we get out quite a few places. So I appreciate you taking the offer and putting this together, and want to wish you luck on this sale. Ray, what about pickup on these sows and things like that? Pickup, delivery. What's the story on that for this sale?
On the sows, all the sale prices are picked up on the farm, but we will help in delivery. We'll probably do pretty much like we did last year. We will work with the buyers, come up with a moderate fee. We're planning on delivering to Murdo, South Dakota, Ottawa, Illinois, Kansas City, Missouri. We'll deliver up into the Twin City area. And if there is something else that pops up that we can help or assist, in delivery, we will do everything that we can to work with a potential customer as far as hooking up with them and getting them delivered.
Well, that's great. Yeah, just get to a location around there, and you'll help them get there. And so that customer service that you talked about.
Right. And the other thing is, I guess, especially with bred females, we're a PERS negative herd. And we just feel more comfortable being able to work delivery directly with the potential customer, as putting them, on a shipping, company. Now that's another, avenue that can be done, and I understand that sometimes, that's necessary to be done, and we're in the process of working with, at least one of those couriers to be able to hook up with them to be able to deliver, get into Indiana but especially out to the West Coast. But we were able to hook up with people in Wyoming last year and Myrtle, South Dakota. We can get to the Northwest quite a ways out there by, meeting in Myrtle.
Mm-hmm. And get those out there to them. What great customer service and keeping those pigs healthy. So, Ray, I really appreciate you responding to Brandy and being willing to do this and get this put together. And I sure have learned a lot. Sure have had a lot of fun putting this together with you. And again, I want to wish you luck and have everybody go see that sale and check out these awesome sows and what the Gaskill Farm has to offer there on showpig.com. And again, that sale is November 23rd. And so, Ray, just want to thank you and wish you a lot of luck on the sale.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate it. Again, November 23rd, showpig.com, Ray Gaskill Farms. And we want to thank you for listening to another edition of Before the Bid podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Before the Bid. For more information and to learn more about upcoming podcasts and sales, visit us at beforethebid.podbean.com or Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram pages. For information on being a guest on Before the Bid, please email us at beforethebid@gmail.com or one of our social media pages. Remember, that's beforethebid@gmail.com. Happy sales to you, and we will talk to you next time on Before the Bid.